What advice did you follow that everyone thought was stupid? My manager told me, buy VHS tapes. Streaming will never have everything because these rights holders are complete idiots. Half these movies are gonna disappear forever into legal limbo, and when they do, these plastic cases become worth more than gold to the right collectors. I bought it for $220,000. My journey into the world of rare VHS started back in 2010 when Hollywood Video was going out of business. My manager Jerry had pulled me aside during our final week and shown me an eBay listing that made me question reality. Some horror movie I'd never heard of was selling for $8,000 with bidders fighting like it was the last Bitcoin on earth, but in the end I got my hands on it. Everyone thought I'd lost my mind when I emptied my savings and maxed out 3 credit cards to buy the entire inventory. My friends were dumping their savings into cryptocurrency and Tesla stock while I was hauling plastic cases into storage units. They actually staged an intervention because they thought I'd developed a hoarding disorder. My roommate said, "You've gone from coding the future to living in the past, and the only thing you'll attract with that collection is dust and roaches." They'd screenshot my Instagram stories of me drowning in VHS tapes and send them to our group chat with crying laughing emojis. While they spent weekends comparing crypto portfolios at overpriced cocktail bars, I lived in those storage units cataloging every tape. I taught myself to spot different print runs, identify rare distributors, and recognize which faded horror covers meant serious money. My Friday nights consisted of comparing barcode variations on Italian exploitation films nobody remembered. I built databases tracking every variant and limited release, while my friends built portfolios of digital coins that would eventually vanish. The work was mind-numbing, but Jerry's words kept echoing every time I found another rare variant. The market exploded when streaming services started losing rights to huge chunks of their catalogs. Physical media collectors went from a niche community to a ravenous market overnight. Horror collectors especially would pay anything for uncut versions that only existed on VHS boutique labels, desperately needed original source materials for restorations. My inbox filled with messages from people searching for specific releases they'd watched as kids and couldn't find anywhere online. These weren't just movies to them, but missing pieces of their childhoods that Silicon Valley had decided weren't worth preserving. That first rare Italian man-eater film sold for $12,000 to a buyer who flew in from Japan just to authenticate it. Within 18 months, I'd quit my software job and opened a legitimate vintage media business. The 20 copies of a recalled horror film that the director bought from me for $800 each covered 6 months of warehouse rent. My crowning achievement was a distribution variant of a banned slasher that Hollywood Video somehow had 3 copies of, each selling for enough to buy a car. Last month I was organizing my personal collection at home and found a tape my mom had bought me for my 8th birthday. It was some weird horror movie for kids that scared me so badly I'd never watched it again. I almost threw it out before deciding to check its value. Turned out it was recalled after 3 days for satanic content, and only 100 copies made it to stores. The last one sold at a private auction for $220,000. I'd been sitting on the rarest tape in horror collecting history for 20 years while buying everyone else's plastic garbage. My buyer flew in from Norway with a briefcase of cash and actually cried when I handed it to him. Meanwhile, my friend's brilliant investment strategies imploded spectacularly. 2 of them lost everything in crypto crashes and NFT scams. The one who'd mocked me hardest about attracting dust now asks if I'm hiring for my warehouse operation. Last week, I turned down an offer of $90,000 for a horror anthology that's been tied up in rights disputes for 30 years. The same friends who'd said Netflix had everything now beg me to find childhood favorites that disappeared from every platform. Turns out Jerry was right about everything.